And great. Okay, we're recording. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm very thrilled to be here tonight with Nana and Matcha from Thailand. My name is Dr Elise Stephenson. I'm the curator of the Young Entrepreneurs and Leaders Speaker Series, and we are here to discuss what next, a summary of young entrepreneurship across Southeast Asia with a focus on, well, okay, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and where do we go from here, looking past COVID recovery and beyond. I am so thrilled to be talking with both of you incredible people today. I think it's really important that we hear perspectives from all across Southeast Asia, and in particular, I'm really excited to hear from your perspectives in Thailand. To start us off though, would you mind telling us a little bit about who you are, what your business is, your organization, its name, what it does, you know, what you work with, sell or trade, whether you have employees, contractors or anything else, and who your audience is or who your market is. And happy for either of you to kick us off.
Let me start first then. Good afternoon and good evening. I am Matcha Phorn-In. I am a founder and director of an organization called Sangsan Anakot Yaowachon. The meaning is support young people to create their own futures. We are working with indigenous young people in the Thai-Myanmar border where an armed conflict still ongoing. Most of them, when they are young, they have no citizenship status, and we empower them, and many of them now accept to the Thai citizen. However, this situation in the border area left behind a lot of indigenous women, and that is how we started our business. Our business model started from the COVID-19 impact, which is just last year. During the COVID-19 hit Thailand hardly, we went to the village and started our research on, you know, what the impact to indigenous women who don't have citizenship status. And the situation is where women have nothing to eat, children cannot go into the school, and they forced to study online, which is impossible because they don't have mobile phone, they don't have laptop. The electricity is very limitation, it's always, you know, went down. And then it's make them, since the pandemic started up to now, it seemed like they're unable to study for the whole year. And our young indigenous people who we empower, who we working with, at that time also they need to return home. And while they return home, they faced a lot of discrimination toward their sexual identity, gender identity and sexual orientation, due to the fact that many of them are gender non-conforming, and within their community is not acceptance, who are not fit in the gender norms. So our young people reached out to us during that time, and that's how our research started. And we are involving with 100 indigenous women with 3 groups. One of them called Current. If you heard the story in the Thai-Myanmar border, they are the biggest groups that are fighting with military of Myanmar, and many thousands of them now surround in the border area, unable to exit to the Thailand border because the Thailand do not allow them to exit to the Thai where it's safer. This is a humanitarian crisis. This is a refugee crisis, and it's still ongoing. However, this situation also impact Thailand side for 70 years. Our women are running from, you know, the gun, from the war, that fighting in that side, but actually the people both sides got impact. And then go back to the COVID situation, you know, we found that the women are hunger, the women are facing gender-based violence and domestic violence. Children also got impact from that. And we went to the parliament, to raising the voice and to seeking for the support from the government. But they just deny and tell us that they don't have any policy to respond to non-Thai citizens. Even the Thai citizen unable to access. How can we support this group of people? So they tell us that. So that's why we come back to the community and started to consultation with the women. How can we get out of this? The women told us that, they want to do the business, but, we don't have anything. They cannot access to the forest because the law in Thailand not allow them to, to access to the forest, because Thailand have a new policy that try to grabbing the land from indigenous people. And then we're talking about traditional clothes that the women experience of textile. They told us that, within 70 years, they run around, they're unable to do the textile. They say they're not confident, they cannot do it. And then we just say, okay, we eat? So let's talk about clothes and food then. So we started from that, empower around 5 indigenous LGBTIQ. And then they went through the competitions with led by UNDP called Youth Collab, which helped them to shaping their idea. And also we are trying to empower the women to make them confident that if they cannot do it, no one can do it, because they are actually grounded with that. And that is how they can return the traditional way of life, and the textile is their own, a way to connect that between what they believe, what they use, and how can they pass that to the next generations. This is already 6-7 months long, and we already started to have the products. Let me asking for it. คุณคะขอเสื้อกะเหรี่ยงหน่อย we started to produce, and the first time that when the woman finished, they was crying, and they sent it to us because we are locked down in Chiang Mai. We cannot travel there. And then we was crying as well. Look at this. When they told us they cannot do it, but look at this. Yes, and it's very beautiful, and this is 100% organic, and it's made by the women. And we are started with 6 families. Within 6 months, when we started this business, the women started to have money, and they can buy food for their students. And what is also can change the opinion of the husband who have been used the power to control the woman, is that they started to realize that, they took away woman power. And when women have the money, it changed completely. Men started to take care of the child because the woman can work. And when the woman have the money in her hand, she started to write her voice, what she needs. For example, one woman brought the shoes. She crying and grabbed the money and went to the city to buy the shoes. She told us that, it's something crazy, she never had ability to buy the shoe for her own self. This is her first time that she want to wear the shoe that bought by herself. And it's such an empower for us to understand that, the basics that for everyone is just so normal, but for someone, when they can do it by themselves, it's such an empower. And then that is also, how the woman make the clothes, textile, and the children sit behind the mothers. And she also told us that this is the way that she can healing from, from trauma of the COVID that made the hunger for nearly a year. But at the same time, it can help them to possible to buy food. But I would like to a little bit come to the recent situations. Boom, everything changed. What happened? The war in Myanmar started in the coup in February. It impacted all the indigenous community around the borders. They're starting to fight with the military of Myanmar, and our women, since the war started in the early of March, the women unable to sitting and take time, because she's scared. She worried that the gun gonna come, the bomb gonna happen, and it happened. It's what happened. In the 27, one of our women member got shot. They're shooting in the other side, but it's only 20 meters far from the house. Yeah. So this is a situation that this is the real challenge that we started to try to include another 10 family. We will have 16 members, but even the sick now unable to sitting and make the clothes. And 400 of these community members went to stay in where it's safe, a shelter of the government, and they just be able to return home a week later. So this is a reality, the challenge that we face it. But I want to say that the COVID-19 is put us to thinking about what it can sustain our life and our futures, because business, it kill all the small business. We thinking the small model, the small scale that started from hand, selling in the local, explore can it can traveling to the other country as well, but it's come with the story of the women of the village, and we want to achieve in the next 10 years, not even next 10 years, we already see some possibility that women will get out of poverty. And when the woman get out of the poverty, children can go school. And when she can go school, no one can force her to marry when her so young. Her well-being, her sexual reproductive health and right will be protected. And I myself will be a runner full-time, because I don't need to work anymore in this particular situation. I hope that I can empower the young people to run the business, and I can do some things for my life.
That's phenomenal, and so cool to hear too, because I think that so often business is seen as such an extractive, unhelpful capitalistic system which doesn't help communities. But in the right hands, I mean, it can be total empowerment. And I think you touched on cultural continuity and being able to share, and that is so beautiful. I can't wait to get my hands on some of these. But being able to actually pass down culture being very important, everything around financial autonomy, and of course education and all the rest. I mean, it's such a complex issue. That's so many questions, but I'm going to duck over to Nana now. What about you, Nana? Tell us about your organization. What does it do? I know that you're doing as amazing stuff, working with as amazing, cohorts, but love to know, what's it called? What do you do? Who do you work with?
Okay, so basically, now I am 28 years old. Previously, I worked as the media agency that provide media on awareness raising on social causes, such as the participation democracy, such as the media literacy, such as sex education, etc. So that's a part of my job to design a solution for the social causes with creative idea, and I do tutoring or mentoring young activists on using media to raise awareness sometimes. But aside of this, my another job is I do the board game called Coconut Empire, and in this board game is something that it may be not a big thing, but this is affected by COVID, which is is something cannot be replaced online. And about the social enterprise I currently made, I made 2 projects right now. The first one is ThaiConsent.in.th. It started from the volunteer group when I was a student. We opened a fan page and blog to explain to Thai people about what is consent. The consent, what does it mean? Because we don't have this word in Thai language. And many people don't understand what is consent sex. And since people don't know this word, the concept of consent getting blurred, and then people they rape without knowing that they are raping the other. So we start from that in 2015, and it became the Facebook page in 2017. And it continue as the volunteer project, as my hobby till the end of 2019. We start register the group as the company limited, because we get some support grant from FRIDA Young Feminist Fund. And after working for this long time, I think it's time to make sustainable like financial system. So we want to get the the legal registration within the group and make the like finance separate from individual. And since we start ThaiConsent company, I think the interesting part is that what kind of income we made during this, like by being the like feminist media, I guess. So the first thing, like we made income by we like producing content and media that related to women empowerment, which is a trend right now in the world global market. But in Thailand, I think it's like brand like many brands, mostly from the Western, they like want to hire the local agency to promote on gender equality, but the normal media agency, we cannot guarantee that like they understand feminism, they understand like the gender standpoint. So in ThaiConsent, we want to make sure that like if you like support us, we want to like support and distribute the fund to the activists and people who are very passionate in this issue, not only the one who want to do it as marketing. So this is the point of ThaiConsent. And secondly, in ThaiConsent, we are now developing an online platform where we allow students and young people to come and ask questions about sex and how to deal with sexual harassment. Because since I am like in this field, I have so many inbox and people ask me what to do, what to go next when they get harassed by someone. And I think there must be some platform or the pathway that they can know what they should do next. And I think technology, or since the young people, they use online platform now, they don't even call to hotline right now, no? So I think we need to like build a platform that at least reply to them fastly, get them to connect with like the actor in the community in the short time, and then like provide them what to do next to tackling the gender-based violence. That's another thing we are developing with the NAA fund in Thailand. It's quite funny too, because since I make this as the company name, I cannot access to non-profit fund. And when I go to startup fund, they ask me like, why don't you go to non-profit fund? And the reality about me pitching this project is in the startup way, all the committee, they are all men. And like it's like they want to push me into the social innovation program instead of going startup. But I tell them that in the social innovation program, the criteria itself, it still requires some numbers. Like they want us to like in the end we have to report them like how many cases we help, how many women get healed, get like a number to get to the police, etc. But if we go to that like that field, I cannot guarantee the answer to them, because the pipeline of Thailand justice system is so broken. And I think the most we can do is we help them with informal support. So that would not have been the support from the fund anyway. So I choose to go to a startup model, and like the model I make and I will sustain the platform itself. It will be by membership, or we can say it's the donation. But since we are not the foundation, we cannot get donation. Instead, we make the model membership model where they can like subscribe, like they can subscribe Spotify or subscribe on Netflix. Because actually, I think I work with the urban young people, and also they already subscribe Netflix. So I think this can be the model where like people who want to run a social related business, but not capable to register as foundation, because in Thailand running foundation is big burden. You
Big
have
headache,
to get,
yeah, same in Australia.
ใช่ so I think running a company is easy, clearing the tax in the company is easier, and I think it allow you to get the membership through the like company system. So that's how we try it out since January this year, and I think next year we're gonna see some result, hopefully. Another project is I have a platform just made last month called Open Grants. We plan to make the like link the young entrepreneur like activists, business kids, and maybe a teacher and student to share the knowledge together and try to connect them with international community. Because since I work in NGO fields since 2015, I know so many people work in really have amazing job, but like they are not confident to express their work to the international community. And I guess like, and it's always nice to have a chance to mingle and connect with the international people to get new ideas like you do now. So we want to make the community through that platform, and it's where like have the newsletter system, so we can reduce the work on the paper and news grant news like system. Because I have a issue like hunting grant and like sending news to I hate forwarding email. I want automatic system, so I make that to facilitate the work of NGO and social entrepreneurs. So thinking about how to make the income yet, but we are figuring it out soon. But so that's the explanation of what I'm doing. And I a part of my work, I think since I work with internet feminists and I work with young people in the urban area mostly, I also want to connect them with the people like Matcha who work in the offline context mostly. And since Matcha work for the long time with a very amazing job, I want this kind of work to get recognized in the media, especially in social media. Previously, like they don't have conversation about marginalized people, and like I don't want the feminists to be like the privileged feminists. It should be connected and intersectional. So we try to be the connector and link the world together and try to support each other choosing technological support.
That's so amazing, and you are so ridiculously entrepreneurial to have so many cool projects on the go. And so interesting too that for both of you, the kind of businesses really have come out of, or well, some of them have come out really recently, right? Throughout COVID. Really cool to hear about ThaiConsent though, and the journey from non-profit to for-profit, business structure, because that's certainly something that I think so many businesses or social enterprises struggle with. And I know in Australia, actually working out the legal structure is still, we don't have it. So, you're doing all of this good social work, but you don't necessarily get all of the benefits that a nonprofit might for doing that. And you don't get all of the benefits of a business because, of course, you've got a social aim and there are costs associated with that. So that's really, really cool, and really cool to hear how you've been exploring the funding models for them too. For both of you, because, Matcha, yours is very much so more offline, as Nana said, whereas yours, Nana, is more online. What have been the what has been the effect of COVID, I guess, on business? And Matcha, you've already mentioned that it's maybe not so much COVID, but more the war that's been more effect. Has there still been effect? Yeah.
I think it's actually the COVID-19 is impact social and economics overall across the context, you know. I started to thinking about to sell a really good products which is made by hand and took time for do it and complete it, and the journey started from the plants, the color which is village, and send the material to our women in the community, and then started to finish it and send it to us. This is all impacted by the COVID-19 when our travel is restrictions. We have carrying, a cost of transportations, and also we want to sell it in the fair. We could say fair trade, which means that it should be enough to also not only for the one who produce it, and it's also fair to the one who are bought it, and fair to our environmentals. And as you see, when the economic collapse, no one has the money enough to spend in something not meaningful. So then, we are hardly to sell our products in the fair price. So I think this is the first thing that already impact to our business across the business. But also in the other levels, we are the one who are working on the ground, hand-on, everything. And we started to learn about how to sell it online. So we need to, advertise online, contact with our customer online. Everything is online, and we are faced burdens because we are not technicians on that, and we have very lack of access to the resource to learn about it, to understand how to use it in very how to say best way to do it. So I think this is impact us, make us kind of face it as the burden. We cannot open the shop and then the people just walk in and or we create an event that we have a lot of interesting products and the people come to listen story and interested to give a name card, and then they brought it later. But we are unable to do that because of the COVID impact. And then the COVID situation will not impact us only a year, but thinking of 3 years. So it's meaning that we have to start it from now to empower the indigenous women, to empower our young LGBT indigenous people to learn to use the online platform to sell our products. So I think this is also will be our strategy as well, how we can connect with our customer via online, and also we need to up our skill up on that kind of things. On the other hand, as I told, our context is not only COVID, but it's the war. And when the war happened, we unable to sitting with the women, to train them about such a thing, to thinking about developments of our products. We cannot do that. We are restricted. The Thai government not allow us to access to the village because of the war, included COVID-19, And this is such a real challenge, and we're still unable to coping with this when the COVID meet with the armed conflict. But if we could understand this challenge, it will benefit so many country and so many border now, because they are faced an armed conflict and it's come at the same time. So I think if the travel restriction ended, I really want to head down to the village and sitting with the women and seeking with them for the solution and their fully participation on how we can carry out our business model that can be the solution from the other community that have the same context. So I hope I answer your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've given me a bit of an idea too of perhaps what supports are needed next. But before I get there, Nana, for you, what about the effect? What has been the effect, and perhaps what's enabled you even so during COVID?
So during the COVID-19, since a part of me, I sell board game. So board game is something that cannot be done online. So right now, and with the quarantine and everything, going to meeting friends looks like a sin now in Thailand. So even promoting my game or the event we are well protected, with the policy is not allowed, or we can do that, but people can have negative feedback on us. So that part I think is the reflect to Matcha, to that product with the little bit with the value in the price. It's quite, the sales drop and it's quite hard to sell because people want to spend money for something else. And also in the NGO, about all the media related area, I think any issue that is not related to COVID are put as the less priority, but it still continue. Now I think Thai government or the any program that giving grant, they now slow the any other topic aside of the COVID. So everything put on the health issue, and it's another issue is not exist there. So I think people struggle on that, and I think as a new business established this year, since the customer or people who have the paying capability, they want to slow down payment, so it will be hard to get the first customer. So it's more challenging for new business owner than the one with the old customer. because like if you already have the customer, you can like shift them online and then you can sell
Sure.
them, right? But when approaching new one, as PGF said that like when it's not about product itself, it's about the story, the value, and the trust. Being a new one in the market, you can like it's slow to gain trust than meet in person. And for me, like since we do the networking business ด้วยเนาะ I think making new business deal done online เนี่ย is quite impossible. If not like you go to the office, you meet the people and you talk to them like, in person. I think the decision, I mean the online yeah, is nice for the class or the things that we like have to take note down. But when it comes to the business deal, I think it's quite hard to get it done online compared to meeting people. And also I think it affects the way that mental health of the team. And I think mental health really related to the productivity of the work. Since even ThaiConsent and everything we do is all online based since the beginning, because like we start from student and we don't have like effort to rent anything, so everything done online. But the online tool still cost something. Like for Zoom, you have to pay for Zoom, right? For the maybe the website and the professional meeting tools, you have to pay for that. I think company or organization who like migrate online, they have to prepare the budget for that and train the staff for that too. But for me, I think even we don't have that issue, but I think it mental health really affect our like team, because most of our team, they are like young students, and since they have to study online, they're living with parents and like, they share the space with parents also. And when people lock down, the internet gets so toxic. And since we work with like feminism or gender-based violence, I think every day we receive so many like dramas and toxic news, and it like quite make people feel so bad. And I think we need more of the healing or session that we put human connection so we can continue life as normal. So, so yeah, that's how it is. And I think it affects me in that way.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. I think, I work generally in gender and sexuality, studies, research, that sort of thing. And, I've got a little bit of trolling and all of the rest, but that was, bad enough as it was. I can't imagine what you would experience and what your team would experience, the topic, the reaction from some people, because that is certainly still part of, unfortunately, how people react. Combined with the all online nature, that's really, really difficult. And I think, it's the sort of things that with scale, businesses can afford the human resources and the, psychological support and everything that goes with a workplace, let alone a workplace that might be more triggering or traumatic than others, just because of the nature of, what you have to deal with. So that's, that I can see that being really critical. For both of you looking forwards, what support would you ideally need? Whether this is from government, from the community, from other businesses, what would help support your organizations as they grow, and perhaps as you're aiming to get more sales or more members or establish that financial sustainability? Really love to hear your perspectives on that.
I think the targeted with the government, the Thailand don't have the strong policy to protect the small business, and then use the online platform. We are not business hunting, we are lack of capacity to dealing with a big business that they have so much money to advertise, to access to the people. So I think the government really have the problematic regard to these issues. And I think Thai government need to develop a kind of policy that in order to ensure that the small business will possible to survive in the online platform. That is how the reality for example, if the COVID-19 impact us for 3 years, everyone bought the stuff online, and then we don't have anything to protect it to ensure that the customer will see us, and they're not protected us from the business sector that they're holding platform. For example, like, any kind of business now, online platform that they are gain so much money from small business sector when they are trying to advertising their own products. So I think that related to government directly. And also in the other concern is about Thailand have lack of positive policy to promote the young social entrepreneur, young entrepreneur. Thailand have very small space for the young entrepreneur and very high competition that you can win and you can get some support either whether from the government or the business sectors, meaning that the Thailand lack of access to startup, lack of access to the resource. For example, like us, we have to apply for the national competitions, and in order to win the award, we need to be the winners. And 6 months long of participation of the empowering process, and then you need to be the one of the two, and then you can get support. Imagine that it's killing the imagination and the capacity of the young people. I think the government needs to try to seek for funding to support the young entrepreneur, both technically and also resource to start it up. And then I think customer as well. I think the customer also facing a difficulty in terms of COVID, and also a lot of people now lose their job and they not even have their own money. And I think increasing the money from the government to create the work for the people in every country, especially the young people that now unable to access job. I think this is also the time to mobilize the need from the people to ensure that our tech will go back to the young people, that to help them to access to job. But at the same time, it will mean a lot of young people will want to run their business. So that's why I think this is our target, how we can support more young people to get the resource to start their business. And then come to the heart of our need when we are talking about indigenous young people who are in the border area. We really need to access to the technical support, to access to resource to run the business, because we want to register it, we want to know how to sell it, but at the same time, we want to keep the value of economic justice idea, meaning that we not really want to reach, but at the same time, we want to sustain our communities. So I think this will be a kind of the heart that we are really want to promote. And if this business model successfully, it means that a lot of village, a lot of young people can create the job for their own people, and they can sustain their life and their communities. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much, Matcha. Yeah, I can see that technical support and all of that. Extra support. Really good point you make about young people going through all of these programs for the 1 or 2 chance for funding. It is really, you're absolutely right. There's lots of programs and, it's great. There's a lot of capacity and skills development in them, but you're absolutely right that that's very, very competitive for what is actually a lot of labor and emotional labor for a young person, particularly if they are coming from a background which has perhaps been marginalized in some way. That's a huge toll. It's a big thing that have been increasingly passionate about, has been, well, where we do involve young people in programs, they always have to be paid. If they are participating in some way, even if it's there for their benefit and skills development and the rest, like there's a real value in actually financially compensating, particularly if people have had to step away from their jobs or anything else. And particularly if they don't have any other financial options, I mean, this is really critical. So thank you for raising that. It's a really good point. Nana, for you, what do you see as the big things that could support you going forwards?
So like nowadays, people in Thailand, they will say, oh, if you have the problem with COVID, you must adapt yourself. If you sell things offline, you should go online. But in fact, going online costs, your visibility online costs, because like if you don't pay like on the platform, you will never get shown on anyone's feed. So now visibility, you need budgeting for visibility, for being visible. So I think the visibility in any kind is important. And if they cannot do that, support the small business to survive offline is still crucial. But right now in Thailand, I don't think they have any policy to support like the small business. And like many of the business have to like survive by themselves. And I think now the direction of the nation, they tend to like push everyone to rely on the big platform and force everyone to use big platform too. And I think it is not healthy in the long run. Also, I think for Thailand vision, they must have the vision to position themselves as the country that want to participate in the world economic. Because right now I think what happened in Thailand is they just want to survive day by day. I mean the people in power, they only think that how can we control the situation. They think about how to control the people. But if it will be greater if they think about we already have like awesome work of people in the country, how can we like support them and push them to go internationally or even in the ASEAN or even like across the country. But I think the board like of our country, like of Thailand, don't have the international mindset. It's like they reserve access to international trade to the elite or the people in the upper class only. So they don't encourage the small business to go with them. They want to be the middleman who trade, like using the product of the the grassroots, and like they don't allow us to become the trader ourselves. So I think with this barrier, it's kind of like it's not really about COVID, but COVID make it look so obvious that like why but people who don't have any effect they still can run business as usual, not because only they are rich or they have like a lot of budget spare in their hand, but they are access to the fund outside of country too. And like since the business in the I don't know maybe in another country or another the region getting better, like the people who benefit from this first will be the international traders, but not the local one, because we are stuck with local economic circle. So I think the crucial is allow the people to get in touch with international like economic system, and secondly like allow them to get like more visible without clinging them with the platform algorithm which we have to pay for being seen.
That's a really, really good point. A lot of the trends across the other roundtables that I've been holding has been the difficulty of like the creative aspect of being digital too. If you've got TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and a million other platforms, I mean, how can you keep up? Also, how do you build that audience? I mean, it seems like multiple full-time roles just to do that. And that's just not possible for a majority of businesses.
And I also have another point. I researched and wrote on this like last year, I guess. It's about the internet monopoly, that like in the future, the more and more the government runs on the technology base, the more exclude it will be for marginalized people, because like when you people who can access to policy building in tech related method, they're like it cannot be they don't allow anyone to just access to that. It must be someone with tech background, and mostly people who can access tech background, they are somehow in the middle upper like class in the society. And it's like of the social aspect inside the tech แบบว่าbusiness too in Thailand, and mostly they are very liberal, like the strongest are the one who deserve to win. They like competing with each other, but we don't think about how like unequal we start. And I think I am really concerned on that. Like if the future is gonna be not, we doesn't make only dictatorship in terms of the traditional politics or the military anymore, but it will be about the technological dictatorship. Can I say that? The monopoly of the big company who own the tech, because not everyone can manage and go with the tech, because we don't even know how it works, and we cannot accept that knowledge that easy. So I'm concerned on that in the long run. Like
that's
will get excluded in that.
That's a really, really good point. Yeah, particularly, I guess, just seeing the inequalities in wider society, you know, like increased even more so in tech, unfortunately, even though there is the opportunity for it to be democratizing in so many ways. But as you say, possibly we're missing some of the policy that would help make that happen. My final question to you both is, you know, what's your dream for your organizations? What would would you love to see them Matcha exporting those beautiful products all around the world? For you, Nana, what's the dream? Where do you want the business to go? And then second to that, you know, what relationship, if any, or potential do you see for any collaborations with Australia? You know, would you export your goods here? Would you do anything else, or is there any other ways that we could collaborate going forwards into the future?
I think the work that we have been done for 15 years in Thailand now is impact. One with the COVID-19. Secondly, when it's involved armed conflict, we also been restricted by the government in terms of access to the communities. But at the same time, Thailand now try to pass the law which will controlling all the work, whether you are from the community that the member want to fight for some issues, or you registered at the foundation. All of this will be under the law that they will control you. You need to apply for the government to allow you to run any activity. So I think this is will killing all the work on the ground led by the marginalized groups, and this is a really crisis for us. But on the other hand, when we start the business models, we thought this maybe will be the other chance for us if it really happened and we unable to fight to stop that. It means that we need to use the business model. It's not only for profits, but is for support the human rights, the gender equalities, and sustain our environmentals. So I think this is an opportunity for us, I think, to thinking about this way and to try to make it possible. That if it's possible, it means that I will see the indigenous women who are still stateless because the Thailand is just so oppressed the people. They are unable to access to the citizen, but they still be able to get money. And when the woman get the money, you know what's gonna happen? She cannot fight for her citizen. She cannot fight for her child to access to education. So I see this is the turning point from inequality to the equalities. And on the other hand, what I want to see is that I want to show that, you know, the product from that friendly from the environmental is the solutions. We no more need any really fashion that, you know, destroy our environmental. We need the fashion that respect the people, respect the cultures, and also respect our environmental. This will be the new trend for us that when we want to buy things, we want to hear the story. We want to support the local products, and we want to, you know, take that as the spirituals. clothes or spiritual stuff, that we keep the story on our bodies, and that will pass the traditional to the next generations. And then I want also to see the people like me who are working like 15 years and hopefully to work in another 10 years, that we are gets enough support to work, to empower the people, because we also want to stop working when we are,
of course, absolutely.
Else the next 10 years, I really want to be a full-time marathon, something like that. And then what the relation between Thailand and Australia, and how the country like Australia can support us. I would say I started this project 15 years ago, that possible to empower more than 4,000 indigenous people because of Australian support. The small organization in Australia, they give us the money to support the young people to go to school. That already connected, right? But now how can we build from humanitarian support to the sustainable development support, that we achieve of gender equality, that we achieve of in poverty, in hunger, support well-being. I think we can continuing to sharing our work and sharing the result, when we have led resort, and how we can get support from you, and also support us technically if we want to sustain in terms of business, started from young entrepreneur, but expand that to the other community. We really need the sort of funding or the sort of support. That is how we can collaboration or really show the solidarity that is particularly focusing on indigenous people who are left behind. And Thailand, I couldn't see they will put this to the table to talk about it. I cannot see 15 years, and I couldn't see yet in the next 10 years. And I hope you heard our voice. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Matcha, for sharing all of that, and some really powerful dreams in there. And yeah, really excited to see how we keep on collaborating, because I know we will. Nana, what about you?
So my dream, I dream to see the fairer power distribution like worldwide, both like power in the decision making in life, power in the decision making in the national level, and in the wealth distribution. Because I think now, the world, especially I work in the media, I heard a lot about decentralized concept. Internet will decentralize everything, but it's not true. It's like in the end we still have middleman, but in the new form. I guess I want to see people using the technology or internet for fairer wealth distribution. And I think I dream to see the people can access to global economic without a middleman. I think it is important to see people regardless of where they live, which language they speak, can exchange the idea, the minds, can trust each other, and can support each other or exchange the resources. Like right now, we have so many barriers that provide us from for making the first contact. When we contact, we don't trust each other. How can we develop more trust in the world and make it more friendly to share stuff, not to hold the resources to oneself? And not only in the international level, but also in national level, people in urban area, are they seeing people who need empowerment as the equal as them? How can we distribute it to the important causes? Because in Thailand, people actually they support for social cause a lot, but they support on something that I don't understand, merit, pure merit, or not on people, maybe on dog, on cat, but not on people. So I think I wish to see people trust more in humanity, because I think lately I talk more with business people, and I'm from NGO, I talk step in the business world, and I saw they don't trust in people, they don't trust in human. and it's like they feel like I don't want to support the person because they are not reliable. They like
interesting.
so I'm like, I want to see you people have faith in at least the development of society. It's not like going worse, and then like give people a chance, and then people want to develop, that people want to have good life, and when everyone have good life, you get the good life too. That's the concept I try to not convince them, but try to tell them that there's another way to think about how we should feel toward the other, and how can we build more trust inside society.
Really, really powerful, and thank you so much for sharing. It's just, yeah, so much wisdom, but so much incredible work you're doing on behalf of women and non-binary folk everywhere, and just really deep work within the communities that you're in too, which is just phenomenal. I'll just switch off the recording, so thank you so much.